Okay, so it is April 26, 2021. So, was putting seeds in the ground, you know, right? It's cold out there. But hopefully in a couple, 2-3 weeks or so, it will be much better, right? Because we're going into that cold snap. It was warm and then it cooled off, but it wasn't as warm as it has been. It was warm when you were more in the sun. Anyway, okay, so I'm inside now, right, people? And of course, you know, I'm listening to Dr. God, Dr. Death, whatever she is to you. And I don't know, people. I don't know what the government is up to outside of, I feel like I'm being ignored. Right? I'm trying to tell myself they're investigating. As if, because as I'm listening to Dr. God, Dr. Death, whatever she is to you, she's going on about how she's got this great relationship with the coroner's office. And I'm like, no surprises there, go figure, right? You know, it's like a freaking mob, right? Because I'm pretty sure that somebody in the government is pulling up some files. That's one thing that back in the day when this happened, right, you know, with ShaMay, right? Uncle John, I went to pro bono, got bad advice, came across a bunch of crooked judges, right? Got even more bad advice, right? You know what I mean? A lot of passing the buck. And, but with ShaMay, I actually did go to my MLA office, member of Legislative Assembly, right? Bruce Ralston, to whom has met Uncle John on more than one occasion. Uncle John and I went into his office, sat down, and had a discussion about working on a universal school meal program. Right? I made Mr. Ralston blush, people. Right? Because I was so determined to try and get on with the non-profit and do good things in the community. And, but basically, you know, BC Liberal government was in, so, you know, the NDP didn't feel like they had any power. So, I can't remember if it was Mr. Ralston who sent me to Rich Coleman. And there was another fella in there, he was a Punjabi. I can't remember his name right now. Anyway, okay, so I'm listening, and I mean, obviously, they have a cushy relationship with the coroner. They're going to protect each other, people. That's what I'm trying to say. They're not there to protect my family or my kids that have died or Uncle John or anyone, right? Because they're going to be, like, I know, like, okay, let me get back to Mr. Ralston. So went to Mr. Ralston after ShaMay died, you know, and I figured out what the hell was going on with her body and stuff like that. And that's when I was doing those videos saying I was going to try and contact the premier, right, and ask him to do an well, yeah, basically to find out how much it costs to leave a dead body on machines for 9 days, right? Mr. Ralston, I went to his office. I never seen him, but I seen his assistants, and they were saying, like, because he was an MLA, right, he could get files real fast, in terms of, you know, they said, bring it in, you know, whatever, write down whatever you were doing or thinking or wanting done, and then bring it to them. And because, you know, the guy's a politician, he could have pulled up files, and the assistant said the sooner the better, because files can get buried. in terms of 10,000 files can be piled on top of that one file. But, you know, at ShaMay's, at the clinic, right, where we all went, right, everything's on flash drive now. Or wherever, external hard drive. It's on the computer. It's not even in a file. It's in a file. They have a file. But they were, at the time of my request, they were transferring the files into computer. So I don't know how private that is, people, in terms of medical files, because once it's on the computer, anybody can access it, right? Through that network of different ministries and groups and gangs and organizations. All right. Okay, that's not what I'm trying to talk about. The point was that I couldn't do that, people. I mean, obviously I went to the office asking for help, but, you know, the more I got into it with, you know, in terms of what they did to her body, and when I did those videos zooming in, and, you know, I'm at the point now, honestly, I kind of feel like I might have to start that up again, just to remind people that, you know, just to remind people, right, and my government, that what happened to ShaMay wasn't based on no cozy relationship between the coroner and the government, okay? Because if it was that, ShaMay would have gotten justice a long time ago, people. So, you know, I'm in the yard. I'm keeping a steady pace. I managed to move one wall unit. Well, it's not a wall unit, but that little unit that I had over there, I've moved it out. It's over there now. This is, you know, I'm making way for Amari's wheelchair, right? Because he's getting heavy, people. He's so good, though. Oh, when I carry him, he knows not to be. I mean, every now and then he'll start with his legs, and I tell him no way. But, you know, and he's like, you know, he's very aware, people. Very aware. Yeah. He goes, look. Right. So anyway, I'm just braving the storm here, okay? That's what I'm doing. You know, I mean, it's just a matter of time before something happens with the government, for better or worse, people, because, you know, it's been past 21 days, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe they're digging up files. They're getting the RCMP file, they're getting this file, that file. Don't forget, they have to go into Uncle John's files, people. Right? It's not just ShaMay. There's Fraser Health Authority and CIBC Bank. Okay? The coroner is involved with ShaMay and Ciera. But Uncle John, that's a whole different ball of wax. Right? But not really, because it's applicable to what's happening to tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of old people and people in general right now through a form of medical kidnapping. It is, people. When you've got somebody locked up where they can't see their loved ones, being told they can't see their loved ones until they're better. Okay? That's what they did to Uncle. You can't see the kids, and you can't see the kids until you're better. And you know that. Well, how much did it cost the taxpayers to keep Uncle John locked up like a dirty secret, people, through the healthcare system, through emergency ward, and this ward, and that ward, and, you know, just let the hospital pay for it as they were working behind the scenes trying to figure out how to steal his money. Let's see how deep the government really goes into it, people. Let's see how deep they're going to go into it with ShaMay's dead body on a machine for 9 days. Let's see how deep they go as they're having this wonderful relationship with the coroner's office and any other employee that they pay their wages to. So anyway, I'm trying not to worry about it, right? Oh, I still have to do the HSBC stuff. By this time, I get so tired. Right? I go all day, people. Dishes, laundry, a little yard now. I planted some seeds today. Right? Gotta mow the grass. Oh, I got some potatoes in the ground. So now when I clean out the rabbit hutch on the bottom, I'm gonna have this great, nice hay that I could put right over all that big potato patch. See? I still haven't filled it out yet. It's written in Uncle John's lawsuit. This is going off to the wayside. Uncle John still has signing authority to these accounts, people. A man just doesn't up and fucking disappear. Okay? So, I'm assuming that they're looking for files, and I hope to hell, and they better go look for Uncle John's file and dig up every last little file that they can freaking find on him. And what they're gonna find, people, is when he lived with me, he went once for prostate. Right? He had prostate problem, so they rooted him, right? Rooted him, right? Okay? And he had an infection after the fact because they sent him home too soon with a catheter or whatever they got, right? And then when Joan moved in, she convinced him that he had back cancer. I don't know how the hell she did that, because Joan was always sick. Every 2 weeks she was going off to the hospital, going to my videos, right? But besides that point, Uncle John went and had this test, that test, and he didn't have no cancer. He had the same shit he's always had with his back. And outside of that, people, he was as healthy as an ox. Didn't take no drugs for 20 years. That was a huge milestone for Uncle John, and he was functional. He didn't deserve what he got because he got a Surrey flu. That, in 2015, was killing all kinds of homeless people out on the streets. So what the hell is going on now is nothing new. Uncle John went to the hospital, and through, non-emergency ambulance, you get into the hospital, they had fucking people lined up on both sides, people, of the hall. All the way down, all the way up and down, this way and this way. And Uncle John was on one of them, and they gave him a fucking bedpan. They didn't even try and help him go to the bathroom. And then they started doping him up, and it was game over. So what? Is the government just going to ignore that, people? Seriously. No. So, let's just assume that they're digging up old files. Right? So in the meantime, I'm not going to show you. I'm just going to let you listen. I'm listening to Dr. God, Dr. Death, whatever she is to you, because she's a nobody to me, people. Like, seriously, this woman makes me so angry that, like, I'm like, oh, you know, like, how dare you try and superimpose yourself into what is left of my family. What is left of my family, people? So we're going to listen to two things, okay?
Next question, Susan Lazarek, Vancouvers Son. Hi, thanks for taking my question. I had a question about the messaging that goes out to individuals who are in their late 50s now and early 60s, and they're on the age-based vaccine rollout. Is it your right now we're being told we must take the first vaccine that's offered to us, but when those people are waiting for the age-based rollout, if they wait for that, then they're freeing it up for the younger people.
Just listen for a few minutes, okay?
Is that part of the messaging that you'd like to get out, or are we still being told no matter what your age, take the first vaccine that's offered to you?
I'm not sure exactly what you're asking, but yes, if you are registered and your age comes up and you're said it's your chance to book, go and get your vaccine. We have.
They're using all of them.
Your deferring is not going to make it. Not going to allow us getting to that protection for everybody any sooner.
They just
so
had
there's
17
enough
people
vaccine coming in the next few weeks
3 days.
for everybody, every adult, between now and essentially the middle of June, the end of June.
Did you hear that?
So when your time comes up, go get your vaccine. And as we go through and cycle through the age groups, more and more vaccine will become available, and we'll go down the age categories quickly. Deferring your own vaccine for another date is not going to get us there any faster, because all of us need to be immunized, and you need to do it yourself to make sure that you're protecting yourself and those around you. Where we've had the vaccine available for younger people, and that's why we've targeted at younger people who may have to wait longer for the age-based program, is the AstraZeneca vaccine. And in BC, we made the decision to make it available through pharmacies primarily, but in some of our high-risk communities, to that age group that we were seeing being hospitalized right now, and that's 40 to 59. And that's why we started with that group. But as we get more supply, perhaps, maybe, and we look at the supplies that we still have in the province, we will look at decreasing the age group of availability for AstraZeneca. So that's the parallel program. But there's no reason to put it off or to think that you can defer it to somebody else. We all need to be immunized. So when your age comes up, when you're offered an appointment to book, go and get your vaccine.
Susan, do you have
Okay, I'm not doing it, people. I'm not. This is a form of terrorism, in my opinion. Because she keeps trying to say everybody. All adults. No, something happens to me, people, she's not going to take any responsibility. None of those individuals will, okay? Right? If I have bad adverse reaction, they're not going to take no responsibility. If I get paralyzed or really fucked up, they're not going to take absolutely no responsibility, okay? If I should die, people, they're not going to take any responsibility, okay, people? And being that they're not going to take any responsibility, I'm not taking any risks, because that just pushes my family deeper and deeper into that manufactured poverty, and now it will be somebody else saying, who's next? Right? I have a right to make my own decision for myself and my family. And we're all pretty healthy people. Yeah, I got my issues, but my immune system can probably outrun a whole lot of people's immune system in this neighborhood. However, I'm not going to allow it to be manipulated through computer models and chemistry, basically under an analog that basically destroyed my family to some degree, especially when it came to Ciera herself. And being that I'm dealing with people who don't play fair, I don't know, people.
There has been some concerns expressed in other parts of the country about people who are dying at home from COVID-19, and that, of course, is a terrible tragedy. Here in British Columbia, any sudden unexpected death, as they're
with
called,
all his shit in the garbage
are
can.
investigated by the coroner's office to understand the cause of death. And since the start of this pandemic in March of 2020, we have been working with the coroner's office to establish a protocol that includes COVID-19 as
Well, I don't know, people. The coroner's office, you have to ask yourself, you're in someone like my position, how reliable is the coroner's office? Because it's an office with the same, basically, types of individuals. Birds of a feather flock together. Loose harvesting isn't being done by one individual, okay? It's being done by a group. Actually, you know, let's just finish. I don't want to go on. I'm tired. Like I said, I'm working.
assessment for
I planted potatoes today. So I'm digging in the dirt as I'm working.
a potential infection with COVID-19 in all sudden unexpected death investigations across BC. As always, the coroner's investigation can take several weeks to months to complete, depending on the complexity of the situation.
Also, depending on whether they want to do their job or they're not, or they don't want to, right? You know what I mean? I mean, like, it's shady shit, people, okay? A lot of shady shit.
And should it be determined that COVID-19 was either a direct cause or one of the underlying factors in a death?
I have come across so many videos on BitChute, right? And places like that, where, you know, they have walked you through what a virus is, how they try and map it, blah, blah, blah. A lot of what we're hearing of, from my understanding, is based on computer models. In terms of what a program thinks it looks like versus actually under a microscope. Okay? Two different things. You have the microscope, which now there's a video on the internet that's floating around where they're looking under a microscope at Pfizer, apparently, in terms of what is in the solution. And nobody at this point knows what it is outside of it. Probably scares the shit out of them because it shouldn't be there, because it moves. Right? So, not to mention this other stuff that's going on with masks and PCR swabs and PCR tests, and, you know, like, there's so much debunking information, if you know what you're talking about, that would really bring about a debate, right? But of course you can't have that debate on YouTube, right? And before the government will be open to debate, it's going to glue itself together with its core groups, just so it, like I said, it becomes like this big blob. Just eats everything up in its path. Right? That's how I feel about it, people. When you've got somebody that you don't know from Adam, that you basically don't like because of the misinformation that you think this individual spews out of her mouth, right? Why would you be accepting of something that you know that could very well make you like what your daughter ended up to be? Right? In 8 years from now, you think anybody's going to be paying attention when there's going to be a whole lot of what? What? This individual can't tell you what, because they're learning. They're learning. But they don't have a right to destroy your life. Right? And that was the point of the lawsuits, people. Was to remind the government that they don't have the right to be destroying people's lives just because they can say they're a part of a legion, a union, a legion, a union, a legion, a union. You notice how I'm putting in the word legion? It goes back to that satanic governance, right? You know, Canada isn't supposed to be behaving like savages in a diplomatic way. Right? Right? There's a movie for you. Savages in a diplomatic way. Right? So anyway, I just wanted to point that out, that I don't know who this person thinks they are, but I don't know, people. I'm waiting. I'm waiting to see how deep the government really wants to go when it comes into pulling up their files. And if they come back and try and do what those funky cops try, oh well, you know, ShaMay, it says right here she was suicidal. No, she committed suicide. No, she was 17 years old and she was depressed because people like you came into this house and basically tore it upside down so you could run off with the kid. And then do as you please for 15 months without being held to account in terms of what happened to him. Because he wasn't the same when I got him back. And all because Ciera wasn't coming home and the social worker wanted to make sure that she learned a lesson. But of course you're not going to find that written in the files because they didn't even want to admit it. When I called them on it, when Uncle John called them on it, when we all called them on it, they tried to hide it. Okay? So you don't think they're not going to try and do that again? That's why if the government, you know, take it to court. I'll tell you how it went from our point of view, right? Because just because you've got something written down doesn't necessarily mean it hasn't been falsified, people. You know, the coroner's doing a great job. Great job. Yeah, okay, well, they falsified ShaMay's fucking medical files and her coroner report, and they also falsified Ciera's fucking files and her coroner's report. So how can I sit here and honestly agree knowing what I know? But will I ever get a chance to go to court and stand and face these people eye to eye and say, look, right here, okay? I got it. You tell me, you explain to me what that is that you see with your own eyes, people, with your own fucking eyes. It's not just something written down, third party, and then erased out and rewritten over it to make it suit the narrative. Okay? And keep lying. Just lying. Lying. So anyway, that's how I feel about things right now. I'm trying just people to stay focused, get these days in, right, in terms of, you know, just keep working and get it all cleaned up, right? You know, I'm trying to get excited about, oh, this is what I'm going to do. I'll end it on this good note. This year, I don't need apple juice, none of that crap. So I'll probably, I mean, Andre likes picking apples, okay? So it's fun. We go, Amari likes it too. And then I run and I push the buggy. I run like I'm a little kid. And he likes it. I'm going to just probably dehydrate them this year. And you get a lot of apples in one jar. And you can always use it for something else another day. That'll probably be the best. Because I'm not up to doing a whole lot of canning this year. And the canning that I am going to do, I want to be selective about it. Like I do want to do the tomatoes, right? So, you know, we'll have to wait and see how it goes. Beans, well, I didn't plant no beans today, but I'm just using seeds that I have in the house. I'm not buying, right? I've got lots. I've got cans full of different stuff. And the potatoes, I'm planting potatoes, but next time I pull them up, oh yeah, it's okay to leave potatoes in the ground over the winter. They come out really nice when you dig them up at this time of year. Like these potatoes, like I've heard that, just leave them in the ground and dig them up as you need them. But if for some reason I have a lot of potatoes, I'll probably just dehydrate those too, right? I'm planting squash and stuff. My landlady likes squash, so we'll see what happens.